Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel again. One short question for you guys. What is the weirdest way people could possibly die? Shark attack or lightning strike, right? Well, if I told you that 21 people in Boston died because they were drowned in syrup. Yes, you heard it right, it's syrup. 25-foot wave of molasses destroy a whole neighborhood. Professor Panda, please tell me, how does a wave of molasses kill people? Isn't it so slow? And don't people just walk away from it?
That's what everyone thinks. It's molasses. It's slow. How bad could it be? Let me paint you a picture. It's January 15th, 1919. Boston's North End. Lunchtime. Normal Wednesday. People are eating lunch. Working. Kids are playing. And then, boom, a massive tank holding 2.3 million gallons of molasses just explodes. Not leaks. Not cracks. Explodes. We're talking a tank that was 50 feet tall and 90 feet wide just ripping apart like a soda can. And here's the thing that breaks everyone's brain. Molasses is slow when it's cold, right? But this molasses had been fermenting. The temperature had just jumped from below freezing to 40 degrees Fahrenheit that day. The pressure inside that tank was building like a bomb. When it exploded, this wave of molasses was traveling at 35 miles per hour. That's faster than Usain Bolt. Imagine a 25-foot tall wall of sticky, sweet death chasing you at highway speeds. You can't outrun syrup when it's going 35 miles per hour, my friend. You just can't.
Wait, 35 miles per hour? Panda, that's insane. What even causes a giant tank of molasses to explode? Like, was it an accident or something?
This is where it gets spicy. And by spicy, I mean criminally negligent. So this tank belonged to the Purity Distilling Company. Ironic name alert. They were using the molasses to make industrial alcohol, mostly for munitions during World War I. Business was booming. They built this tank in 1915, and from day one, people complained it was leaking. Like, you could see molasses oozing out of the seams. Kids in the neighborhood would bring cups to collect the free molasses dripping from the tank. And what did the company do about these leaks? Did they fix it? Reinforce it? Hire engineers? They painted it brown, so you couldn't see the molasses leaking. Genius. Absolute genius. Safety problem? Just make it invisible. Problem solved. But it gets worse. The tank was never properly tested. No architect approved it. The designer used steel that was half as thick as it should have been. And, my favorite part, they filled it too fast and too full. So you've got a poorly designed tank, made with cheap materials, never tested, constantly leaking, filled beyond capacity, with fermenting molasses creating pressure and carbon dioxide gas inside. In the days before the explosion, people heard the tank groaning, like it was alive. Rivets were popping off. The whole thing was literally screaming, "I'm about to explode," and the company was like, "Nah, it's fine." Spoiler alert, it was not fine.
Hold on, they just painted over the problem and people knew it was dangerous, right? Panda, when these things exploded and what actually happened?
Alright, buckle up because this is wild. January 15th, 1919, 12:30 p.m. It's actually kind of a nice day. Temperature jumped from 2 degrees to 40 degrees overnight. People are out and about. Then witnesses hear this sound, machine gun fire. Except it's not gunfire. It's the rivets on the tank popping off one by one. And then, boom, the tank just explodes. The metal tears apart, and 2.3 million gallons of molasses, that's like 5.5 Olympic swimming pools of sticky syrup, just comes rushing out in a massive wave. Witnesses said it sounded like a roaring train. The wave was 25 feet high, that's like a 2-story building, moving at 35 miles per hour. Buildings collapsed. The wave ripped a firehouse right off its foundation. Railroad freight cars, those massive heavy train cars, got tossed around like toys. Steel support beams for the elevated train got bent. A truck got picked up and thrown. People got caught in the wave and just swept away. Some got crushed by debris. Some got slammed into buildings. Some drowned in molasses that was now 2 to 3 feet deep in the streets. And here's the nightmare part. Molasses is thick. It's sticky. When you're trapped in it, you can't swim. You can't crawl. You can barely move. It's like quicksand made of sugar. People and horses were just stuck, struggling. And the more you struggle, the more you sink. The wave traveled 2 blocks before it finally slowed down. It destroyed everything in its path. Homes, businesses, a city pool, a public bathhouse, just complete devastation. 21 people died, 150 were injured, and the entire north end of Boston was covered in a layer of sticky, brown molasses.
That's terrifying. Panda, what's happened after that? Like, how do you even begin to clean up millions of gallons of molasses?
The cleanup was an absolute nightmare. Like, the disaster itself was bad, but the aftermath? Chef's kiss of chaos. First of all, it's January in Boston, so the molasses starts mixing with the cold harbor water, creating this sticky, freezing sludge that's even harder to deal with. The city brought in hundreds of workers. They tried using salt water from the harbor to wash it away, but that just spread it further. Soon, the entire Boston harbor was brown. Ships were tracking molasses all up and down the East Coast. People walking through the area got molasses on their shoes, then tracked it everywhere. On trolleys, in homes, in businesses. Phone operators couldn't use their phones because the receivers were sticky. Door handles were sticky. Money was sticky. Everything was sticky. They had to use sand. Tons and tons of sand. They'd spread sand on the molasses, let it absorb some, then scrape it up and start over. Again, and again, and again. The cleanup took over 87,000 man-hours. That's like 10 years of one person working full-time. For molasses. But here's my favorite cursed fact. For decades after, we're talking into the 1980s, people said that on hot summer days, you could still smell molasses in the North End. The streets would get a little sticky when it got really warm. Boston was literally haunted by syrup for 60 years.
Okay, so obviously this was a massive disaster. Did anyone get in trouble? Did the company face consequences? Please tell me there was justice.
Oh, you know there was a lawsuit. And not just any lawsuit, one of the biggest and longest civil cases in Massachusetts history. 119 people sued the Purity Distilling Company. Victims, families, businesses, the city, everyone was coming for them. The company's defense, and I kid you not, they blamed anarchists. They literally claimed that Italian anarchists planted a bomb in the tank, because apparently sabotaging molasses is peak revolutionary activity. Forget banks or government buildings, let's blow up the syrup. The court was like, okay, prove it, and the company couldn't because it was ridiculous. The trial lasted 6 years. From 1920 to 1926, they heard from over 1,000 witnesses. They reviewed 1,600 exhibits. The transcript was 20,000 pages long, and the evidence was damning. Engineers testified that the tank was poorly designed. They showed it was never properly tested. They proved the company knew about the leaks and did nothing. The judge finally ruled in 1926 the company was 100% liable due to negligence. They had to pay out around $600,000 in damages. That's about $7 million in today's money. But here's the real victory. This case changed everything. It established legal precedent for corporate responsibility. It led to stricter building codes and engineering standards. Now, buildings in Massachusetts have to be approved by licensed architects and engineers. The Great Molasses Flood literally created modern safety regulations. 21 people died, but their deaths led to laws that have saved countless lives since.
This is absolutely insane. So Panda, final question for you. What is the ultimate lesson here?
Oh, you want weird? I got weird. This disaster has more bizarre stories than you'd believe. Number 1, the molasses fermented even more after the flood. So not only was the North End covered in syrup, it started creating alcohol fumes. The whole area smelled like a brewery. People were getting lightheaded from the fumes. Free contact high from disaster molasses. Number 2, horses. So many horses got stuck in the molasses. First responders had to shoot several horses that were trapped and suffering. Can you imagine? Sorry, Mr. Horse, you're too stuck in pancake topping. This is a mercy. Number 3, the Boston Post published photos of the disaster, but they looked fake because molasses photographed as this weird dark sludge. People outside Boston thought it was a hoax. Come on, killer syrup, that's not real. But it was. Number 4, bodies weren't recovered for weeks. Some victims were so covered in molasses and debris that they couldn't be identified. The molasses preserved some bodies like terrible, cursed, syrup mummies. Number 5, the explosion was so loud it registered on seismographs. The ground literally shook. Scientists initially thought it was an earthquake. Number 6, rescue workers would slip and fall constantly because everything was coated in molasses. Imagine trying to save someone while ice skating on syrup. Heroic but also kind of slapstick. And here's the one that gets me. For years after, families of victims would receive anonymous packages of maple syrup on the anniversary. Someone, to this day we don't know who, was sending syrup to families of people who died in a syrup disaster. I don't know if that's sweet or deeply inappropriate. Maybe both. The Great Molasses Flood teaches us so many important lessons. Lesson 1. Corporate negligence kills. The Purity Distilling Company chose profit over safety. They knew the tank was dangerous. They did nothing. 21 people paid with their lives. Companies have a responsibility to the public, not just to shareholders. Lesson 2. Safety regulations are written in blood. Every building code, every safety standard, every engineering requirement, they exist because someone, somewhere, died. We should respect these rules, not complain about them. Lesson 3. Don't underestimate the physics of disaster. People thought, it's just molasses, how bad could it be? Very bad. It can be very bad. Respect physics. Respect engineering. A wave of anything moving at 35 miles per hour will destroy you. Lesson 4. Accountability matters. That 6-year lawsuit? That mattered. It set precedent. It changed laws. Fighting for justice, even when it takes years, creates lasting change. Lesson 5. Sometimes the most absurd-sounding disasters are real. If someone told you a wave of syrup killed 21 people, you'd laugh. But it happened. History is full of bizarre tragedies. They're not jokes. They're warnings. And here's my favorite lesson: from tragedy comes progress. Those 21 deaths led to safety laws that have protected millions. We honor victims not by forgetting, but by learning from what happened and making sure it never happens again. So next time you pour syrup on your pancakes, maybe take a moment to appreciate that we have regulations making sure your breakfast toppings won't, explode and kill you. The Great Molasses Flood wasn't just a weird disaster. It was a turning point in corporate accountability and public safety.
Wow, just wow. The Great Molasses Flood proved that truth is stranger than fiction and that disaster can come from the most unexpected places. Huge shout out to Professor Panda for breaking down this sticky solution. If you enjoyed learning about killer syrup, smash the like button. See you in the next video.